Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Velato, coming to you on this rainy Sunday morning that I made the most out of, playing a round of golf with my brother over at Flanders. Match play came down to 18. I hit a drive out there. I'm 117 away from the pin. My brother hits a 7-wood. He's about 130. Sticks and 9-iron, 8-9 feet from the hole. I get up there. Flush my pitching wedge, Nick, 126 to the back, lands on the back, rolls off into a horrible spot to then get up and down, don't get up and down, and I lose the match. So that wasn't great, but Saturday was great because we celebrated my brother, and I gave a best man speech, and it went really, really well. Do you know, I had 5 or 6 great laughs, just being honest. I mean, we could look back at the tape. If anyone wants to go look at the tape, I got it. Someone recorded it. But I got 5 or 6 great laughs. What do you think the best laugh was?
What do I think the best laugh was? Was it something self-deprecating?
Yep, it was. So I was doing a joke about how my brother has become my golf therapist, and I'll have to listen to these long, hour-long diatribes of me recapping the game. And I said, I could go on forever, but this is starting to sound like one of my podcasts that nobody listens to. And I got a huge roaring laugh.
There we go.
I don't roaring laugh.
I appreciate, like, I love the fact that you joke like that. I don't appreciate how everyone laughed at our expense.
Yes,
we get listeners, baby.
Yes,
we get listeners, baby. We get millions of listeners a year. All right.
Yeah,
millions of downloads a year.
They don't know. They don't know the details. They don't know the stats. And I knew that would work with that audience.
Good job, dude. That was excellent.
Yeah, I like that one. But we're talking Giants practice, and here's the deal. Today is Sunday, July 27th. We're going to recap today's practice and Fridays, which we missed. And then Monday, tomorrow, Nick is going to be at practice. So then we're going to have a different title for the show. It's going to be live from practice, actual observations from Nick, who is there, boots on ground. Now, Nick and I, for now, can watch these videos that are circulating and make our own opinions. And that's what you're going to get. You got it last episode. So we're going to play some clips today, and we're going to kind of walk through those clips and break them down. We're going to go over some notes today, Nick, some injuries. And I want to actually start this show, though, with an interview Malik Neighbors did with, I believe it was Victor Cruz, and I forget who the other dude was, maybe a Bleacher Report guy. And it was after Friday's practice. And you know, they asked Neighbors, and we can see it, Nick, just from these clips. He's developing a really nice rapport with Russell Wilson already. He had 5 catches going into today's practice, and I think 5 more, something crazy today. I saw an intermediate ball that looked really nice to Neighbors, from Russ to Neighbors. They're developing this rapport, and the interviewer, it wasn't Cruz, I think it was the other guy, asked Neighbors, you know, what stands out? Like, give me a fun fact about Russ. And he's like, I'll give you a fun fact. We were at practice today, and we're lined up in a play, and I'm looking at the defense, and I'm like, this is going to be man coverage. This play is not going to work. And he's like, Russ never checks out of the play. He's expecting zone. So I run the route, and he's right. Russ is right. It's zone, and we beat zone. And I go up to Russ after the play, Neighbors says, and I go, what happened there? How did you know not to check out a man into zone, check out of zone into man? Like, it looked like it was going to be man. And Russ said, I saw the leverage the corner was playing with you, and he tipped it off. I'd seen it, and he tipped it off, and I knew that it was going to be zone. And Neighbors was blown away by this. And it's just like, that's the Eureka moment for me, Nick. It's like, wow, we never had that last year. Our quarterbacks couldn't figure that stuff out, that little detail that goes from a blown play in the season that's going to be an incomplete pass or a sack or a stare down and a scramble into a solution for an actual first down.
Attention to detail that comes through film study, just understanding how defenses play certain players, and that's only going to improve with rapport, right? And those are like the little things that I find so fascinating about football in general. It's like when a star player gets injured, Dan, they leave, and you miss that skill set, and now somebody new comes in, right? Like next man up mentality, and that player probably isn't as good as the starter. We get that, but the little things like that, that's what really gets exposed and separates starters from backups. So I think just having Russell Wilson in the position that he's in, he's been around this game for so much. Like Brian Daboll's talked about it extensively at this point. His experience is going to greatly improve the likes for Wan'Dale Robinson, who hopefully everything's going. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Darius Slayton and Malik Neighbors, and just the entire offense in general.
And we'll talk about, like, I think it's a combination of things, Nick. I think it's half of what you said, just being experienced, having gone through it. But I think it's also a lot of just natural. It's a lot of the ability to understand the game from a mental standpoint that some guys have and some guys don't. Like we had a guy in here last year who had a lot of years experience and he studied hard in the film room. All the talk was this guy's putting in the work. He's first in the building, last out, but he couldn't figure out any of this stuff on a consistent basis. And so a lot of it does feel natural. You see it with Joe Burrow, you see it with all the great quarterbacks. I'm not comparing Russell Wilson to those guys, but I am saying that he's going to find more solutions like the one Neighbors broke down than we found as a team in so long. And that's just going to get us more first downs, more explosive plays, and great moments as Giants fans. I hope at least, big plays, because my expectation for this team, Nick, if all things goes right, is it's going to look a lot like 2022, just more explosive pass plays. Not often, not always. It's not Burrow out there, but an occasional bomb, an occasional deep cross, or something interesting.
You're talking about just on the offensive side?
Just on the offensive side, yes.
Yeah. I hope it's going to be a little bit different, right? I think there's going to be a little bit more flavor. But we've seen the packaged plays in training camp so far, like the one play that Cam Scataboo, a lot of people were talking about where he hit the jump cut off the ass of Evan Neal. Like that was a packaged play with an orbit motion on the backside where Jaxson Dart was able to read a defender and then either hand the football off, or he could have took it himself, or he could have thrown to the orbit motion. That's a play that we've seen every season since Brian Dable's been the coach. So there's still going to be those foundational plays within Brian Dable and Mike Kafka's offensive philosophy. But with Russell Wilson, man, this should be a different offense with different throws, like we saw with Tyrod Taylor and even Tommy DeVito to a certain degree, rather than what we saw with Daniel Jones, who was a little bit more averse to throwing outside the numbers on routes that stemmed from inside the numbers breaking outward.
Right. And we've had a few of those throws, a handful of those throws in the last few practices. I mean, we've had the best throw by far in Giants practice this year in a long time, for me at least. Friday's practice. I don't know if you have the clip up there, Nick, if we can run it. It was a 50-yard bomb to Neighbors, and he hits him in stride for the touchdown. Now, Neighbors beats Paulson and Dabo by a lot, and Carl Banks talked about this on his podcast with Bob Papa, Nick. I don't know if you caught that, but Carl Banks was like, I was on the sideline, and he's like, I heard the sound that I will know for my whole life playing football. It's the sound of the corner being like, and then just losing it. And he knows he can't keep up with Neighbors on this deep route. And I joked about it on Twitter, Nick. It was a joke. I was having fun. I said July 25th, 2025, the first time since entering the NFL, Malik Neighbors has got a 20-yard air throw in stride. And quite frankly, it's a joke, but it's also serious. I mean, with the exception of, I guess, that Tim Boyle throw, that was kind of back shoulder, we haven't seen Neighbors catch a 20-plus yard air throw in stride. And here it is. You're watching it now on YouTube. This ball drops in stride. And it's just very exciting. We saw it all last year with George Pickens and Russell Wilson. He did it with Calvin Austin as the Steelers, who's not a great receiver. He can drop that moon ball in stride. He understands the timing. He understands how to put it in front of the receiver. And when you have a chance to catch it in stride, you're gone. Like Neighbors, all he has to do is beat a Debo like he did on that route. And then there's 40 yards of grass. There's 20 yards of grass. If there's 50, it doesn't really matter, Nick. If it's in stride, he's going the distance.
Yeah, exactly. And he has the ability to actually create that kind of separation. It seems like he has the nuance. The release package is something that he's certainly worked on. And you see it, man, when he comes to that split release and then he just dips that shoulder and goes around, his acceleration and ability to maintain speed through that turn, it's exceptional. It's fluid. It's going to be so difficult for cornerbacks to actually get their hands on and to execute the proper leverage within the defense that is being called by the opposing team. So, man, I'm so excited to see how Russell Wilson and Malik Neighbors fare going forward. And hopefully everybody stays healthy. That's one thing that I wanted to bring up too, because I mentioned a little bit earlier with Wan'Dale. Yes. He ended up going down again. So Wan'Dale Robinson and Brian Burns collided in Friday's practice, and it looked rough. Both of them were in practice. Brian Dable spoke to the media before today's practice on Sunday and said, like, look, they're both out there. There's no concussion. It's fine, basically. He was like really refuting the questions the media were just throwing at him.
Of course.
But Wan'Dale ended up leaving practice again, and now it's just Dan Duggan reported that he didn't seem like it was serious, but he was done for the day. So something to monitor tomorrow.
Definitely something to monitor. And I think also, unfortunately, as long as we're on this front, Bryce Ford-Wheaton suffered what is likely a really bad injury. It's been a really rough ride for Bryce Ford-Wheaton. He's flashed. He has crazy size, speed, athleticism, but he just hasn't been able to stay healthy, and this might be kind of the end of the run for him, especially with Dylan Cambry coming up and looking really good in practice. And obviously, Bo Collins had a couple really nice plays today with Jaxson Dart. We're going to jump all over on this pod, Nick, but I do kind of want to cycle down, as long as we're sticking on quarterbacks. I want to cycle down to Jaxson Dart, because across the board, every single person who was at practice these last 4 days says that Jaxson Dart had his best practice by far today on Sunday. Was dealing, looking really good. We're going to play a lot of clips. I have 5 clips in the doc that we can play to show some of these throws off. And not only did he have his best day in practice today, Nick, he had his second best day in practice on Friday when he went 6 of 8 with a touchdown. Dart, that's what I like to see, especially at quarterback. I want to see that steady progression. And I thought Dart said something really, really interesting after practice when he was talking to the media. He said things slowed down some today, and it turned out to be a better day. He said, I was confident in the installs, and he said, the coaches gave me more freedom with my checks. That was really interesting to me to hear him say the coaches gave me more freedom with my checks. He says, I don't want to play like a robot. I want to play aggressive, but not reckless. And he said he's been getting valuable advice from the vets, Russell Wilson and Jamus Winston, about the tendencies on blitzes and what to look for in cornerback leverage. These are things that we sometimes overlook, Nick, but when the Giants went out this offseason to say, let's get Russell Wilson, however many year veteran who's maybe on a Hall of Fame track, and let's get Jamus Winston, who former number 1 overall pick, played in a million different offenses. We can see it when we watch his tape last year in Cleveland, knows how to process defenses and anticipate things. It's a different level than you would have if Dart came into last year's quarterback room. That those guys just couldn't do it from that processing standpoint. So I think that may be very overlooked in his development. And I love to see the steady progression with him having his best day today.
100%, man. Yeah, he's connected today. I hope he can do that tomorrow as well. And everything that you said, I agree with. I mean, bringing in a guy like Russ, he's Super Bowl champion, and Jamus, former highly drafted player who has been around the league and is a successful quarterback in his own right, even though he's a little bit reckless. And speaking of reckless, that's something that Jaxson Dart said after practice. It's like, we want to play with aggression, but we don't want to be reckless. But
right.
We do want to be aggressive. That is the exact opposite of what we've seen from the New York Giants, is that aggression. There wasn't too much recklessness. It was just kind of bland and a little boring, the offense over the last several seasons. And I don't think that's what Brian Daboll wants. It was Brian Daboll trying to make the most of what I would say is a pretty bad situation, and doing a solid job at it relative to what the expectations of that quarterback with that offensive line were, depending on which year we're talking about. Obviously, going to the playoffs and winning a playoff game was something, but the last 2 years have been abysmal. Now you're talking about aggressive football that's going to lead to attacking down the football field. And as we've said so much on this podcast, that's going to open up the rest of the offense. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Look, we all love to work out. The summer's coming around. You want to look good in your bathing suit. But in order to enhance your workout, you want to go and use MitoPure from Timeline. This is a great product. When I started using it, it makes me feel stronger, gives me more energy. I recover quicker. I'm in my 30s. I still have the energy to work out. And if you want that energy, you really should give Timeline's MitoPure a shot and work it into your routine. This, the great year of 2025, is your year to be the best, most energized, most revitalized you. MitoPure promotes cellular renewal and mitochondrial health to address common signs of aging at the root. MitoPure is the research-backed innovation that unlocks your fullest potential. Timeline is offering 10% off your order of MitoPure right now. So go to timeline.com/banter. It's timeline.com/banter. That's TIMELINE.
For sure. And shout out to all these people who are dropping these videos from training camp that we're going to run today. I think we have a few from Bobby Skinner. We have a few from Ryan's Big Blue Pod. So shout out Ryan's Big Blue Pod. I want to put up this back shoulder throw that Jaxson Dart had with Bo Collins. One thing I've been looking forward to in camp, Nick, is to see just the difference that Dart has when he's running that second team offense with Bo Collins on the field versus other receivers he's never worked with. Bo Collins, a player who has really impressed during spring and is a potential standout this summer. Look at this back shoulder throw, man. I mean, we don't see back shoulders as Giants fans. The last back shoulder I remember was like Mike Glennon against the Cowboys to Kenny Golladay in whatever year was. Like, we don't throw back shoulders. Our last quarterback, just for whatever reason, didn't understand the timing or whatever it was, never threw a back shoulder. I love the idea of Jaxson Dart throwing back shoulders, man. It's not really a Russ thing either. Hopefully it will be more of, but the timing, the drop, everything looks smooth there from Jaxson Dart. He understands where to put this football on a back shoulder. And this is kind of impossible for a corner to defend. It really is not easy for any corner to defend this throw.
Yeah, well, it's also just a good route by Bo Collins to take advantage of Trey Hawkins, who opens his hips a little bit early here. If you look at Bo Collins does a little split, stutter release, going to open to the outside, and then once Trey Hawkins at third goes to stab, he just swats at Bo Collins and then gets his hips turned, and then Jaxson Dart notices. I also think it's interesting, and I wonder if this was planned. Jaxson Dart opens by looking to his left. He sees the three-man route concept to his left, and then he just comes right back to the free access to the weak side of the play and hits the one-on-one matchup against Trey Hawkins. Bo Collins does a good job.
Great point, Nick. Because I know you remember this just watching so much of Ole Miss Jaxson Dart tape. There were a lot of times where I thought he did a good job of recognizing that, coming off for the free access on the other side of the play, on what I guess wouldn't be considered the play side of the play, whatever it may be. And he would take those free access throws at Ole Miss. And I feel like that's something that maybe Lane Kiffin did a really good job of kind of coaching him. And it's something he can naturally add to the Giants. Just felt like some of these throws today really looked like a step forward for Jaxson Dart. We have a few more in here. We've got some intermediate shots, one to Amir Smith. That was a really good one. So there was a throw to Theo Johnson, I think, early in practice, where he ripped the ball into a tight window with velocity. So I think he showed off a lot. He has a big bag, I think, when it comes to his throws. Like, he can change his trajectory. He can layer it over the top of that second level and the third level. But he also showed the ability, and I saw this at Ole Miss, to kind of just rip a ball in there when he needs to throw it tight. And this is which one is this one? Let's see which one we're running right now.
Yeah.
It's a little hole shot in there. Love that. Love him hitting the intermediates. Just quick drop, fire, be confident in it. And that's what he said. He was just confident today, right? Like, he just saw the field better today than he has in any other practice. And it's great, Nick, because we didn't expect him to just hit the ground running and just understand processing and timing, right? Like, this is a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, of course. And again, he's doing this, and this is positive, and I'm not trying to throw any cold water on it, but he's doing this against Trey Hawkins III and a lot of third teamers and guys who may not make the squad. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. But on that last play, he connected with Juice Wells on that deep flag route, that deep 7 route outside the numbers. Again, man, we're just talking about quarterbacks who are accessing all levels of the field, every area of the field. That's all we want. That's all we have wanted for so long. And it seems like the Giants have 3, 4, if you want to throw Tommy DeVito in there, but 3 guys in the building who are willing to do that and capable of doing that.
I think more of like, I don't know how much I trust Russ's ability to access all areas of the field.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But
the other two,
well, the thing is, like, I think Russell Wilson can access every area of the field, but I think his ability to throw over the middle of the field is a little bit hampered, a little bit hindered by the fact that he's like 5'10", 5'11".
Yep.
But I wouldn't say that he doesn't access it. Like, I think Russell Wilson can access the middle of the field more than Daniel Jones can access the deep parts of the field, more than Daniel Jones accessed routes to towards the sidelines, breaking towards the sidelines, sail concepts. We didn't run a lot of sail concepts with Daniel Jones. And if we did, it was always like that check down to the flat. Daniel Jones opted to do that. And I'm not trying to kick Daniel Jones while he's down at this point. But the only reason why I mention this is we're going to run a ton of those. And what I mean by sail, that's a 3-level route concept with a clear out, a flag, which is a corner route that's going to run underneath the clear out, and then a flat route to draw that defender up to open up, hopefully, the high-low, the high to the flag. Now, sometimes that defender, he squats down, and then you could throw that 7. Sometimes he sinks, and then you throw the flat. But with Jones, he just seems to throw the flat a lot or just keep it with his legs. That's not going to be the case with Russell Wilson, I don't think.
100%.
I think Russell Wilson.
I agree on that. Those concepts, I'm so with you. And I'm glad you brought that up, because those concepts are like, the sail concept specifically was such a big staple of the Dable playbook when he had Josh Allen, right?
And we saw it with Tyrod, and we saw it with DeVito as well.
And a little bit with DeVito somehow. He had a fresh, clean slate with DeVito. He's like, you know what, Tommy? Let's see how you interpret this route concept. And Tommy didn't take the check down. He just didn't have the arm talent in my mind, or the timing, or a lot of what you need to play quarterback to really do it. But I do agree, Russ, I'm not worried about that concept or anything that's breaking toward the sideline. With Phoenix is just barking a storm up back there. What's up, Phoenix? I'm working him into the show. But I'm with you. I'm not worried at all about anything toward the sideline for Russ. Those concepts, some of kind of like the timing-based routes that I've seen him throw. He had one to Neighbors today. It was like, I guess, a deep over. We could run it a little bit later, and you could tell me kind of what that concept was. More so just kind of like the dig routes. That's where with Russ, I'm not expecting much from. Jamus and Dart, though, they can make those throws, but we'll see what happens there. Russ is the undoubted right now QB1 as he should be. Let's jump around a little bit. Let's talk about, actually, you know what? If you have it right here, throw up this Russ to Leak intermediate throw that I was talking about. It's right under the moon ball from Friday's practice. And this one is from today's practice. And again, Russ and Malik had, I think, 5 connections today in practice. They were really on target today. So it was a good practice for sure. And yeah, this is the throw that this may just be the concept you were breaking down.
It's hard to tell. I don't know exactly where it's starting out. I love how Malik Neighbors dances when he does this. Let's see. Yeah. That looks like it could just be a deep horizontal crossing route.
Yeah,
like it looks like Leak might come from the back side of the play rather than that front side. But either way, it's a route that's being connected outside the numbers in a flat.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of irrelevant where exactly it started from. You could see that's good. Like there's so much separation there.
Right. I mean, Neighbors' separation is just off the charts.
Yeah, it's great, man. And I just can't wait to see how these all translate when Sunday comes around. And dude, preseason's not even that far away.
I know. We're almost here.
I know. Malik Neighbors, Russell Wilson. It's an exciting time of the year for every fan base, if we're just going to be frank here, right? But the Giants, this is a completely different chapter. Like we're in a different book right now with the same coach and same general manager, but we're in a completely different chapter of the Giants organization. Now let's just hope that the read is of quality and not mediocre.
And it's funny today, Nick, I mentioned I golf with my brother, and he just texted me after. He sent me a clip of a Jaxson Dart throw to Bo Collins. I don't know if we put it up or not. I don't think so yet. And he's just like, it's hilarious. He goes, it's hilarious how much better of a ball he throws than DJ. He's like, ugh, you hype me up so much today. Maybe they will be good, shaking my head. Because like the golf course, I'll admit it, like I am optimistic right now about this Giants team. I maybe am overly optimistic about this Giants team. To me, as I told Matt today, I think we're going to be a lot like 2022 team, but a little bit better and more explosive on defense. And we're going to hit some big plays, which we just never did. We're going to actually hit some big plays. Russell hit Malik. Russell hit Slayton. We got to put that up at some point too, by the way, Nick. I think this was the Bo Collins play.
It is.
Referring to, yeah. And you could see it. I mean, the release, the way the ball goes up and down, that was something I just loved about Jaxson Dart, the trajectory of the throw. He can get the ball to go up and down. That was never something with Jones. It was always so flat. And so it's going to make a difference because if you're trying to do this, if you're trying to execute the throw we just watched, and by the way, this podcast will be better watched on YouTube than listened to. I apologize for that. It's just how it is. But if you're trying to get the ball over the second level and in between the third level defenders, you have to have that ability. You can't just throw a flat football. And so Dart has that natural ability, which is exciting for sure. But yeah, man, I hyped him up because like I am overly optimistic right now, I'm sure, Nick, because again, I think we're going to be a very good defense, more explosive than 2022, and we're actually going to hit some big plays on offense. I don't think this offense is going to be that good. I want to make that clear. I think Russ is going to struggle. We're going to punt a lot. He'll take bad sacks. It's not going to be a great offense, but occasionally he'll hit a big play, and occasionally we'll hit a big Tracy or Scataboo run, and maybe that's all we need. Honestly, dude, like we don't need much from this team, from this offense. I don't think. Oh, that's a good one. I think Nick's running now the Jaxson Dart throw. This was, I believe, a 3rd and goal from the 10 to Cam Scataboo, corner of the end zone. Yeah. Caught the football.
There's a lot of red zone packages for the Giants today, and like this is just Cam Scataboo releasing. Cam Scataboo has been one of the talks of camp too. Like how much can you really take from the running back position when you're not hitting and the offensive line isn't really blocking that much? There's still something that you can glean, and things like this. It's the route running. It's how smooth he gets in and out of his breaks. It's how he seems like he's going to be an asset, not just as a runner. It's also as a pass catcher, which is the exact opinion that we all have of Tyrone Tracy Jr. because he was a former wide receiver. Scataboo, we should also feel like I feel like maybe I'm projecting this, but a lot of people like view him much more as like this is going to be like a thunder and lightning situation. Like I view Cam Scataboo much more like, hey, this is just a dude who is an offensive asset. He's an offensive. He can handle a lot of different responsibilities for you. And if you're seeing this in this clip, it's just shotgun backfield 7 route. Right next to Jaxson Dart to that same side where he sets up the defender and he creates a lot of separation against that safety. And if you watch Dart too, what is Dart doing? Dart opens up towards the field side, the opposite side of Cam Scataboo, comes back to Cam Scataboo, diagnoses and sees the leverage. It was to the inside. It was a one-on-one matchup and the safety sunk down and nobody flowed over the top towards the the boundary side numbers. So he knew that Cam Scataboo was going to be open here. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. That's great recognition by him to understand that. And that's the second time we've ran a clip where we said that exact same thing.
Exactly. Like, look, like you can see the defender, like you can see the defender on the right side of the screen. He sets up, and Cam Scataboo is already angled like he's going to square this defender up, but that defender is an inside leverage, right? And now Cam Scataboo is going to put his foot in the ground, and that safety doesn't go over the top. The safety just buzzes down. So that one-on-one matchup is there to the outside. And Dart diagnoses this and understands this based on what he sees to the front side of the play. You know, I'll have Scataboo to the deep,
right?
Because both of the safety that buzzed down and the other defender sat on Fedone, as you could see. 2 on Fedone, 1 deep, Cam Scataboo touchdown.
Yeah, there's a lot to, this is a play there's a lot to like about. You mentioned Jaxson Dart. You could watch the stripe of his helmet, look to that side, and then come off of it and understand he has Scataboo. You can like the fact that Scataboo creates that kind of separation as a running back running routes. I say this before and I say it again. Tracy has the wide receiver background. I think Scataboo is going to be the most natural receiving back on this team. And
He's
I think
natural, dude.
It's just very natural. It's just very smooth in his route running, the way he catches a football. And last thing to love about this play is ball placement, man. Look at where that ball lands. That ball lands on Scataboo's left outside shoulder. This is a drop in the bucket, walk it over touchdown pass. I mean, yes, he created a lot of separation, so it's not the hardest throw to make. But we've seen these throws go inside, man. We've seen these receivers and backs have to turn their body around, make all these acrobatic catches. This is nothing you got to do. You just let the ball hit you right on the numbers, essentially. A pretty much pinpoint perfect throw here from Dart.
It 100% is, man. And who is it's funny because who is the 44 that he's going up against? I was trying to find it on the depth chart, and
sure, actually,
because it's 44 against 44 violence. You know?
Yeah, it is 44.
It's a lot of 4s going on in this, and this is
four.
Yeah, this is the second play too. You mentioned this a little earlier that Dart looked to the front side, the 3 receiver side, came off to the backside. This wasn't a one-on-one free access. Fedone just occupied the 2 defenders to that side, and then they took the choice route with Cam Scataboo to the deep. So yeah, you're seeing mental progression, you're seeing touch, you're seeing comfortability, you're seeing rapport. All that is being developed right now. And again, against third teamers, but still, it's a positive sign.
And just to add a cherry on top of that, they're developing a rapport together, Scataboo and Dart. That's big. This is the future of the Giants right here. These are 2 players that if all things go right and we're what we can be and what we want to be as a fan base and his team, those 2 are going to have to play a big part in it. So that's a really good play. I'm glad you brought that one up. I don't want to bury the lead of what was definitely the best play in today's practice, and probably arguably maybe better than the Russ Moonball, just because it was basically just Neighbors destroying Paulson Debo, and it was kind of just like a great route by him. But the catch by Darius Slayton today, the one-handed stab by Russ again, going vertical there. He dials it up. He sees it. He likes it. He puts the ball out there a little far ahead of Slayton, but Slayton just stabs the ball for a one-handed catch. So let's run that play, Nick, and take a look at this unbelievable catch from Darius Slayton. Wow.
Darius Slayton earning that contract, baby.
Yep. And good ball from Russ, too. It's not perfect, but it's good enough, man. And it's outside shoulder, and it's high, and it drops in, and it's in front of the receiver. So even when he misses, Russ, it's a better miss than what we're used to.
That's a moon ball, though, too. It's not, a full moon, but it's definitely,
it's a crescent.
It's a crescent. Yeah, it's definitely a crescent. And that's just concentration by
Slayton.
All right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the hard hitting stuff here as we run this play. How do we feel about Darius Slayton in 18?
I don't like him in 18.
I don't really love him. I don't love it either. And I like I'm going to always miss 86. I can get used to it, though. I think I can get used to it.
Hard take, maybe a hot take. I like receivers better in the 80s numbers than these teens that have become more like present. I don't mind a single digit number, actually, like Neighbors and some of the other singles. It's Brian Thomas 7, I think. I like that one. But I will over the teens are like the teen numbers. I just don't feel it for wide receivers at all.
See, 17 and 13 are just 2 numbers that I always have deference to. I'll always look at those 2 numbers as a Giant fan growing up, when I grew up being like, oh man, those are receivers numbers right there,
Yep. That's a great play, though, by Darius Slayton and even by Russ. Just get it out there in space in front of the receiver and let it drop in and let him make a play away from the frame. So I just love that play. There's been a lot of good plays. Right under it, actually, do you want to run this Cam Scataboo play? There was a play on 4th and goal in the last series where Jaxson Dart gets a ball where it's kind of like a broken play. And Cam Scataboo almost makes one of the most insane concentration, natural, like we're talking about his natural ability, catches I've seen in a Giants practice in a very, very long time, Nick. Here, we're going to show it right here. And this is just the screenshot that I put in of it.
Shout out Dan Duggan.
How close? Shout out Duggan. Shout out all these people in here. I think Skinner, we've taken a few from getting these videos out there. And obviously, I mentioned Ryan's Big Blue Pod. Check that out and check him out on Twitter. He's doing a great job at practice, by the way, getting all these videos. He's doing a phenomenal job. But I might have missed putting in the actual.
No, I got it.
Okay. But you can see it. Scataboo on a broken play. This is just kind of like heads up football IQ. And Dart talked about it after practice. He's like, this is the kind of player he is. He's got really natural instincts for playing the position.
He's a football player, man.
Yeah,
he is a football player. And I know that sounds, like kind of cheesy and corny, but no, like this dude breathes football and he just understands. He's a smart guy, man, when it comes to this. He's short too. Like, look at, he doesn't look like
so
that tall.
Short.
At all, man. How tall is he listed at? Like 5'10"? I don't think this dude's
should be 5'8", I think. 5'8".
Yeah, something like that. But oh man, just misses getting it. Yeah. But yeah, who is that gets? So for those watching or listening on the podcast, it's Cam Scataboo just runs a flat route in the red zone. Jaxson Dart fires a contested ball to number 9, and then I can't see what defensive back that is that knocks it up in the air, and then Cam Scataboo just high points it and then just brings it in, but his foot is just out of bounds. But he does this with one hand, like freaking Michael Jordan or something like that, yes. Just reaching up, trying to like pull this damn football in and drag his toes. The concentration is exceptional here, and it's also just cool seeing him with no gloves on. I don't know, Everybody loves gloves, Dan. Gloves are a hot topic here in modern football, and Cam Scataboo's out here just gloveless.
I love how the defender who was on Scataboo just comes off of him and just kind of celebrates the play as if it's over, and he has the heads up wherewithal to not actually think it's over, and almost makes the play because of it. It's really just an incredible concentration play. Scataboo's not such a natural athlete, not like in the sense of like, oh, he's Adrian Peterson. He's 4. He runs a 4.4 at 220. It's like just like the actual I don't even know if athleticism is the right word, but he's just a natural football player.
Yeah, I think he's adroit. He's good with his hands. He understands exactly where to be, when to be there. He's very aware of his surroundings when he's playing. I don't exactly know how to quantify that. I usually will just say he's an aware player. But he has that. You can see it all throughout his Arizona State tape too.
Yeah, you really can. All right, let's talk about another big topic, a guy who's just been really tearing up practices. Just all the hype that came in with him, and this doesn't always happen, has been justified because he's been that good. It's Abdul Carter. And I think Bobby put together 2 just unbelievable moves that we're going to run here on video from Carter. One was a spin move, and his spin move has just been nasty all camp. And he even said, this is Carter after practice, said, I approach each play and move as a pass rusher as a science, he says, but I do enjoy the spin move. He said Micah Parsons taught him a lot and how to be versatile as a pass rusher. Love that, by the way, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. But I mean, this first move, that dip, it's just the bend that he gets on that first pass rush, and then here's the spin move right after it. This bend, though, this is the electric. That is like unteachable bend. Illuminor has 0 chance, and no one will really have a chance against that.
Yeah, no, I mean, Illuminor has to declare with that outside hand, goes to punch, and at that point, Carter's already into his hip pocket. He's already into his hip pocket. He just dips, and you can just see how much control he's able to maintain up the pass rusher. He's a very, very just difficult player to block in general. And I'm very excited. Dude, the Giants got him and Jaxson Dart in the first. If Dart works out, we might look back on this draft and just be like, holy shit, dude.
Well, if Dart works out, it's a franchise-changing draft. Because the only thing that can stop Carter in my mind is injury. There's it's over. Like watching these moves, it's over. It's just how the NFL works. Like Carter, if you have that kind of athletic ability and you're dedicated and you're learning from Parsons, and he does feel to me, Nick, and you could tell me if you agree or disagree on this, because there was some in the draft Nick community when people were breaking down Carter as a prospect outside of the Giants circle, some people were like iffy on like his pass rushing moves. I feel like he's definitely not like unadvanced from a pass. Like he comes into the NFL with a much bigger pass rushing repertoire than Thibodeau did.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I would say much more potential on higher upside than it came on Thibodeau,
for sure, from that
as well. Just from like a bendy and explosive type of manner. I would say, he's inevitable. right?
He is inevitable.
He's
He is
inevitable.
inevitable. So you're right, though. If Dart does hit, this is the franchise-altering draft, because obviously if your quarterback hits, but then you also get Carter too. I mean, that's two franchise players potentially in one draft if Dart can hit. He also got a rep today, Carter, as an inside linebacker off ball. And after practice, or maybe this was before practice, I think Dable discussed that like one of the things they really liked about drafting Carter and about his tape was that they went back to 2023 tape, Nick, when Carter was an off-ball linebacker at Penn State. Because a lot of people don't know this, but he was an inside backer at Penn State in 2023. Just they had a lot of guys in there, and he wasn't playing the same position. And they said that was something that really drew them to him because of that versatility. So we're going to see a lot of different ways that this dude is going to be lined up for the Giants.
Oh, yeah. You got to get your best 11 out there. And he's one of those best 11. And he's going to take snaps from these linebackers, especially in sub packages. It's going to be really creative, I think, on how they use him. And especially we'll see it against Washington in week 1, how the Giants and Shane Bowen want to stop mobile quarterbacks, because this dude's an asset in that manner. But how many times do you want to employ that skill set when he's also probably your best pass rusher, or at least has the potential to be, not named Dexter Lawrence, or maybe even Brian Burns, but he'll get there. But he gets run out of this play a little bit though.
It's the rep he got. It wasn't a great rep. It's just interesting to see him lined up there.
Good job by Slayton just getting in the way.
Yep. And they had a lot of this, and good job by Illuminor there on the outside. Very athletic play. I'll say this one thing I forgot earlier that we were talking about on the Russ, that moon ball 50-yarder in stride to Neighbors. I watched that play a few times and I tried to time it out. That ball was out in under 2.5 seconds, Nick. And it reminded me so much of remember when the Giants led the NFL in explosive pass rate in 2023 for a short stretch with Tyrod Taylor, number 1 in the NFL.
Yeah.
A lot of that was not just these 7-step, 5-step drop backs, scan the field, protection so good, get it out there. It was these quick drops, diagnose it pre-snap, be right, confirm it post-snap, and get the ball out there over the top. And I always like to think about that, Nick, because a lot of fans believe, and they've told us over the years, you can't have a deep passing game unless your offensive line is elite or it protects for so long. But I've just seen them be wrong about that so many times watching NFL games, where a lot of the time some of these deep passing plays, and we saw this a lot on the Steelers tape, are just 3-step drops.
Yeah, and when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, too, think about it. What is Russ known for? The moon ball.
Right.
And the moon ball, he throws that, and there's a trajectory that allows the wide receiver to run underneath it. So the wide receiver, when that ball is thrown, he could be like 8-12 yards down the field. And how quick can a wide receiver get to 8-12 yards in soft coverage? They can get it quickly. So if you really think about it, 3 steps, boom, boom, boom. I'm going to load up. I'm going to throw it, and I'm going to allow you to run underneath that thing. Like Russell Wilson is one of he epitomizes that type of passing attack. So you don't necessarily need a great offensive line to allow that to flourish, to attack downfield. And Russ is kind of, I would say, I mean, he didn't have bad offensive lines in Seattle per se, but he has had success with that specific aspect of playing quarterback for quite a while now, when it comes to just overcoming maybe some deficiencies up front because of the way you throw the football.
100% right about the Nick. And I don't think he ever had an elite offensive line at any point with the Seahawks. I'm sure it was like average.
Yeah.
Times. It was definitely never elite. And I think he was okay with the Broncos. It was better. Steelers, it was okay.
It was a more run blocking offensive line.
Yes.
Than a pass block.
It's a Pete Carroll team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but I love the point you made, and it just stands out so much to me because we're gonna get to finally see it this year, dude. We're finally gonna get to see a deep passing game. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be there. And I think a lot of it is what you said, not a flat throw, but a throw that goes over the top and allows a receiver to run under it. So I was excited about that for sure from practice. Another thing I wanted to talk about, maybe more of, we'll get into some notes at some point, maybe recap some injuries, but just something I thought was interesting. A lot of what I've heard from people who are there, and this is why I'm excited to get you on the ground, Nick, and start going these practices so you can tell me if this is the feel you get. But Emery Hunt, who actually works with me a little bit at CBS Sports, but he also kind of just like a national reporter that has access credentials to the Giants. So he goes to camp every year. And he said after, I think it was Friday's practice, he said, there's a different feel this year at Giants camp, a completely different feel. And this is something that's been echoed by a lot of the national reporters who have been there at camp. And I think it's palpable. I think you can honestly see it from here, from this far away, just recapping it and watching it, how players celebrate some of these plays. I think there's a belief now in this team. You can go into any reasons as to why there's a belief now versus there not being a belief before. we all have our own opinions on this. I feel very strongly about one aspect of this being the case and a lack of belief in what was there before. But there's also more added talent across the ball. And what it leads to, I think, in my mind at least, is a confidence that could hopefully lead to more success on the field. Because I don't think you can win this game when you're unconfident. I think you have to believe that, like, yeah, we have a team that can win. Like, did they really believe that last year in camp? I don't think so. I just don't think so.
No, I agree. And again, it's how I don't know because I'm not there, but I have to imagine that bringing in Russell Wilson to be your quarterback, having a completely different quarterback room in general is going to change the vibe and the feel. And that's independent from Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland and a completely revamped secondary with all the pass rushing help that the Giants also added, getting Dexter Lawrence back healthy. Hopefully we get Andrew Thomas back healthy here soon. So yeah, I mean, I have to imagine the vibes are a lot different, not to mention it's just another season, right?
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, vibes are always up in the beginning of a season, but having Russ back there, other than, you went from having Daniel Jones as your number one option to now having quarterbacks with, I would say, a higher potential than them, multiple quarterbacks with higher potential than them being in the quarterback room. That's going to change how the entire, the team, the feel, all that shit.
Yeah. Even in a new season, you can not have a high vibe if it's a season like last year where you go into it with Jones, Locke, and DeVito as your quarterback room. There's just no vibes there. There's no way to believe because those guys don't produce and they look bad across the board, practice, preseason, and regular season. So this is just something different. We're finally getting big plays that brings up the hype. Neighbors is finally getting hit in stride. Slayton getting, all these things add up. And I'm excited about it, Nick. I really am. I feel a different vibe. I feel a different level of confidence. I'm not getting my whole, like when I was talking to my brother, it's like, I'm not telling him we're going to be like some like Super Bowl contender. Let's pump the brakes. But I just think we can be a more competitive team. And I think we can have a blueprint and an identity as a team that can actually work.
That's what the hope is, Dan.
Yep. Some other notes here. We have Neal continues to rotate first team right guard with GVR.
Yeah, I saw Evan Neal trending a little bit. Looks like he's making a couple good plays over there. Some things with Evan Neal though, I just feel like he's still always really high into contact. He kind of gets moved around a little bit and he's handsy. Like one of the plays, it's like that might get called for a penalty.
Yeah,
that might get called for a penalty. But you know what? Anything positive with Evan Neal at this point, I'm gonna take.
Same. I don't know where I'm at with you because I do agree with you. I don't know if he'll ever not play high, and I don't know if he'll ever be the player that. Well, he'll definitely never be the player who's drafted to be. That's obvious at this point. But will he ever be some? Because if you're going to play him over GVR, if the Giants do make that decision, I think, in my mind at least, they're going for the upside play. They're like, because GVR is going to give you the solid play he gave you last year. And you can argue if it was slightly below average, or just average. That's fine. Like that's a debate for another day. I think he's somewhere in that mix, but it's just like the dispersion. Like it's just it's a higher floor, lower ceiling. And I think if you go to Neal, you're trying to get in these big run plays that he can hopefully spark for your offense. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's just an interesting battle that's been pretty much evenly split so far.
Yeah, and not to jump around too much, but since we're talking about camp battles, you have the Deontay Banks and Cordell Flott battle, and then you also have, now that Bryce Ford Wheaton went down with the injury, Wan'Dale Robinson went down with the injury again. It didn't seem overly serious, but we want to monitor that. Jalen Hyatt has missed several practices. We're getting these young UDFAs are receiving first team reps. So that's something I want to talk about because Bo Collins is getting first team reps. We saw him have success with Jaxson Dart. There realistically could be roster spots for the Bo Collinses, the Juice Wells, the Dalen Cambrys, the players like that. And I think that's look, Giants training camp, there's always a receiver, Dan, that comes up, one of these UDFAs, and he becomes this preseason stud, this Alex Bachman type of player. But there's also the Victor Cruzes of the world, and we're not saying that these players are Victor Cruz, but I think there's a realistic possibility that some of these guys might make the final 53.
Definitely a realistic possibility given the injury situation. You nailed it. And also just, I feel like in general, we always, I don't want to say underestimate, but there always ends up being more receivers on the roster than we expect at some point on that first roster and on the gains roster. Because I think from the special team standpoint, but it's been fun to watch. You said Dalen Cambry, like he made some really good plays and catches today at practice. And I'll say this, dude, not for nothing, but to me, I really do believe Jamus Winston is the best natural thrower and the best anticipator on this roster. I know it doesn't always work out for him. And, nobody wants to see, a lot of Giants fans have aren't even considering him. It doesn't seem like the Giants are even really considering him as an option this year, and maybe at all. But I just watched some of these training camp clips. I'm like, the ball comes out really nice from Jameis. It's kind of on time more than these other quarterbacks, and he anticipates it, and it looks natural. And that's why I think players like Cambry have looked great with working with Winston, because they're going against third-team corners, and they actually get a quarterback who never really should be working with the third team. You should be getting like a DeVito out there is what you're supposed to get. But you get like a real talent in my mind like Jameis.
That's a great point, Dan. How these younger players are going to benefit from the quarterback play, just because the Giants are deep at quarterback. It's not even just Jameis, but also Jaxson Dart, right? Because Jaxson Dart, he might be just getting his legs underneath him, but at the same time, he can deliver the football on time with pace, with touch, and that's going to benefit these receivers who are creating separation and beating these no-name defensive backs.
Right.
We're going to get cut in a couple of weeks.
Yep, but it could help us because it could find us that player, like you said.
Exactly.
It may be, that can be something if it happens. Because injuries at this position especially are just always going to hit the Giants and all teams. So they need some kind of backup plan. And I saw today they did, before Wan'Dale went down, they had a couple reps where it was, which I've been asking for a while, just maybe not necessarily with Wan'Dale, though I'm okay with it, of Wan'Dale and Slayton on the outside and Neighbors in the slot. I need Neighbors slot reps for this year, especially watching some of the throws Russ has made through camp, these slot verts, like that's Neighbors right there. Give him the two-way go. Let him eat. And so I'm hoping we're going to see more of that throughout the next few practices and maybe even Monday, tomorrow when you go. A few other notes. JMS has had some snapping issues, mostly in Friday's practice. I think it was 3 or 4 high snaps. Just something to keep an eye on. Brian Dable didn't seem overly concerned about it, but it did kind of screw up the timing of those plays. So just another thing JMS is going to have to work on this season. As we move forward with JMS. I feel so much worse about the Giants center position than I think any position on the roster right now, to be quite frank. I don't feel like we have a great backup plan. I saw Kubis today was taking some snaps at center, like during the the jog throughs and like that period. But like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's basically like ride or die with JMS this year.
I think you have to. You spent the 52nd overall pick on him, 54th, whatever it was. He's the Giants center. And this might be his last season on scholarship, though. Like, if he continues to struggle, the Giants are going to need to upgrade. And I would argue, or I don't know if argue is the right term, because I do ultimately agree that it's not the most ideal situation. But the Giants have, I think, better options behind him that aren't necessarily centers, i.e. GVR, really. If Evan Neal can win that right guard spot, then GVR can slide in there and take snaps. He's done that in the past, and we know he's competent enough to keep the continuity of the offensive line intact.
Sure, and I think that's the upside case, the hope, if, things don't go right. But we hope still. Obviously, the highest upside is Jameis at center. He's supposed to be good. He was drafted 57. He was good in college. I don't know. It just hasn't been great so far. Couple other notes here. Best practice so far of camp for a player that both of us had on our short list of breakouts, and that's Tyler Nubin, the second-year safety. The Giants took way up top in last year's second round, and he had 2 really nice PBUs at Friday's practice, starting to kind of break on the ball, understand it. His instincts have always been great, but just like, I think playing faster, understanding the system more, it's allowing him to break on these passes faster, so it's a good thing to see.
Absolutely. We also had Javon Holland pick 6 off of a what was it? Drew Phillips blitz, I think it was. Yeah, I'm going to try to pull that. That's something we're going to see, man. This simulated pressures and just blitzes and just creative ways to screw with the protection packages that are going to be crapping their pants because they have to block Dexter Lawrence and Abdul Carter and Brian Burns.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And that was a really big play for the Giants defense. They needed it because the offense has been making a lot of big plays here. But you can see it here. Russ is going to have some tip passes, and there's one of them. And then, boom, Holland's right there. They called it a pick 6. I don't think this would have ever been a pick 6 now that I'm watching it again. He gets tackled right there by whoever that line.
I mean, they're on like the 5-yard line, aren't they?
Oh, true. You're right. I guess there's just nowhere to go.
Actually, no. I lied. They're on the 30-yard line, and I think it doesn't matter. It's an interception, and great job by Drew Phillips being able to recognize the passing lane and put his hand right there. Oh, that was going to be that's probably something where the offense said, okay, the blitz. Throw hot. We're going to throw hot. And Drew Phillips is, dude, the guy's always around the football. He's excellent around the line of scrimmage. He has all the coverage skills in the world. I mean, we've praised him I think correctly after his rookie season. Like I think I don't want to praise him too much. I just see a lot of upside though with him and what he offers this overall defense from like that's one of the players, man. Like if something were to happen to Drew Phillips, I think that significantly alters how Shane Bowen calls the game, because I don't know if the Giants have another nickel defender that is reliable against the run that allows Shane Bowen to roll out nickel packages against 11 personnel with any confidence.
It's a great point. Like obviously,
or 12 personnel too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both personnel groupings. Yeah. It's a great point because obviously like Nick Collins has had a big camp. He's been a big name.
Nick Jones.
Yeah. Sorry. Nick Jones, not Nick Collins.
Yeah.
I have a friend named Nick Collins, but Nick Jones had a big camp, but at the same time, like it's camp and I need to see it in real football.
Yeah. And I don't mean to cut you off, but like he had a big camp because he's come away with like an interception or two.
Right.
That's great, but that's completely opposite of what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like with
that physical presence.
Yeah.
On the overhang. Like, so
there's reasons why like Grant Haley and players like that earn snaps, even though they were bad in coverage. And we were like, why are they playing? They can't really It's because the guy was a solid run defender. Like the defense looks to fortify that foundation of stopping the run so teams aren't just running the freaking ball down your throat and bleeding the clock. Drew Phillips, he allows you to do that in nickel personnel because he is such a solid run defender.
And as we've seen, like so many different NFL offenses shift their personnel and shift not just their personnel packages, but like the way that they attack, the scheme, the run scheme. There's a lot more runs that require that alley defender, that nickel defender to make the play. And like that's why those players have become so much more important in the NFL today. That's why Drew Phillips is such an important role. I think that's a great point that he's one of the more indispensable players on this defense because of that. And so we'll see what happens. He's had a big camp though. Like I'm excited. I hope he stays healthy because he's made plays on the football, tip passes, plays in coverage. He had an interception on that 2-point conversion. So I'm excited about him for sure. I don't think we're overhyping him by any means.
Yeah, man. This is it's an exciting time of the year. We're ramping up, man.
I think that's all we got for today. Thank you so much for tuning to the Big Blue Banter podcast. Like I mentioned earlier, Nick boots on ground for Monday's practice, which also is the first padded practice. So that's exciting. Things are going to get really exciting, I think, at least because of that. Much better to watch these padded
practices. How many fights over under?
At least one for the first padded practice, I think.
Okay. James Hudson, Brian Burns.
No, Brian Burns is hurt. Nobody better be fighting with Brian Burns. Like,
I mean, he gets into it with Hudson.
He does.
Yeah.
Like that play that, like, I even thought about this, Nick. Like the play where Burns collided with Wandell and almost got like hurt, but I think he's fine. It's cool because Brian Burns is like coming downhill, like 20, probably not 25, like 20, 21 miles per hour as an edge to make a play down the field. Great. I wonder, like, I don't know if I was ever a coach or like GM or something. Like, I don't know if I need my edges making those plays in practice. Like, it's cool and it's good. And he's playing it like it's a real game. That I know they have to, but like, that's really risky if you have him flying downhill and then it's just like collision and like, oh, he fell the wrong way. Now we lost him for the. It's like that.
You practice like you play, and I do get that, but I understand 100% what you're saying and how Dable praised Brian Burns in his opening presser today. Saying like, oh, he's hustled. He makes plays like that all the time. But there is a part of me that I do wonder if like Dable goes up to him afterwards, like, take a little easier. You know what I'm saying? Because he has the hustle trait. Yeah. Like he had it all last year.
We don't need to see it. We know he has it.
Yeah. I mean, we could see it if you're fully healthy, but if you're being hampered by something, you just don't want to take an unnecessary risk. But this is why you practice like you play. And as Dable will always say, like injuries happen in football. It's a natural part of playing the sport.
Yeah, but there's
I don't want that shit to happen.
I don't either. It's not real. These are practices, and it's like I was listening to that Malik Neighbors interview. That's the only reason I bring this up. And he was like talking about all the players, and he's talking about Dexter Lawrence. He's like, my fun fact for Dexter Lawrence is you guys have no idea until you're on the field how fast he is for a 300 plus pound guy. Yeah. And he brought up a play from last year's training camp as a rookie, and he's like, I was just running like a shallow cross, or I think he said it was a mesh route, and I caught the football. And I feel the footsteps of Dex on my back. And he goes, I'm right here, rookie. But Dex doesn't actually go at him to make the play because it's practice. You don't want to have your 340-pound nose tackle fully engulfing Neighbors and running him over. But it's like, I'm here, rookie. I'm right on your ass. I would be making this play. And so I want more of that. Like, slow down, Burns. Like, we don't need you colliding full speed with Wandell Robinson 20 yards down the field.
Something neat that is very evident right now is how comfortable Malik Neighbors is. Like, I feel like Malik Neighbors is so much more out of his shell. He's doing these interviews. He's so much more personable than I think he was in his rookie season, where he was just kind of trying to figure things out. Like, he's really embodying like, hey man, I'm like the face of this franchise.
Yep.
He's starting to come into that, it seems like.
I completely agree with that from the interviews. He sounds to me like so much more mature,
happier, even
happier definitely happier, clearly happier, and clearly more mature. And I think someone mentioned it's just speculation on their part, but it's just something that stood out to me that he did unfortunately have like a close either friend or family tragically pass, and like
it was the LSU wide receiver,
right? And that like really changed maybe a lot of, I don't know if that's the case. I think he's just generally happier because he actually has a competent quarterback. And I hate to say it for the DJ.
And it's also,
the reality of the situation. Like he was very hamstrung by his quarterback situation last year.
And we saw his frustration all throughout the season.
Yes.
And it's also just, hey man, like I get a full off. This is my first off season as a professional. Like we talk a lot about like, oh, the rookie, like when you're a rookie, dude, you go into the NFL and you're just as a rookie, just I don't know what the hell's going on, right? Like I was really trying to just get drafted. Like I was doing interviews like last January. Now it's like, dude, I already did all that. This is my first year as a professional going into my first year with an actual off season, like your sophomore season. That's what it is. So he definitely seems much more dialed in, and not dialed in. That's probably the wrong word, but much more confident in his surroundings and just in who he is and showing that to the media.
Yep, I completely agree. You can hear it in interviews. I suggest all fans who are listening now listening to his interviews. The one with Victor Cruz and the dude, I forgot who it was, but that's the best interview out so far. And it's good to see him happier and understanding, and like not understanding. I think the Warriors embracing that he's the face of this franchise or one of them, because, and it'll be Dart eventually, hopefully, but like, because I want him here for a long time, Nick, and I don't want him unhappy to the point where it's like, I want out, because that happens sometimes in the NFL. AJ Brown wanted out of Tennessee. He got out of Tennessee. He didn't want to be there anymore. He got out. And so it can happen sometimes where these great players want out, especially at that position. So I'm just happy to see him kind of being happy about being a Giant finally, because I don't know how happy he was last year to be a Giant.
No, when he turned off the live stream before the draft, remember when one of his homies was like, "Yo, what about the Giants quarterback?" And then he just like boop, he just ended the freaking live stream.
What did they call him? Daniel Dones or something like that. I think he called him Daniel.
All you see is Malik get all serious. He's like, "Oh fuck it. They're about to roast my guy who might be my future quarterback. I gotta shut this down."
Yeah, exactly. But those days are over. We're hopefully in the more positive days. Please do us a favor here. Struggling a little bit on the last couple videos with views and with likes and comments. Please, if you want to help support the show, hit the like button right now. I should have asked at the beginning of the show. Now I'm disappointed in my own damn self. But hit the like button right now. Leave a comment too. We'll try to do our best, Nick and I, to check the comments and get into some good banter here with you in the comments. But all we need is a like and a comment. Maybe share it if you want to. Subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will talk to you tomorrow after Monday's practice.